truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there it is. Hear him say it. The room is dim, papers pile like snowdrifts. A clock ticks in a corner that never slept. Outside, a nation feels the dark press against the windows. And inside, a man who had known the heights and the humiliations, who had tasted triumph and swallowed ash, takes up his pen and insists on the only ally that never fails: the truth. Tonight we are not walking through a museum. We're going into the rooms, into the letters, into the late-night notes that carried a country over a chasm. We're going to pull 3 lives out of a single life: the man who failed, the man who asked, and the man who acted. And as we move between them, between a husband writing through shame, a statesman speaking through fear, and a prime minister stamping action this day in red, we will translate his darkest hours into simple, usable rules you can carry into your own. Let's begin where courage usually dies: failure. In 1915, the Dardanelles turned into a calamity, and its shadow fell like a shutter across Winston Churchill. He resigned from the Admiralty. The newspapers made a meal of him, but the story you don't see on posters is the one he wrote with his own hand, to Clementine. In those letters he was raw. No bluster, no oratory, just a man reckoning with a ruin. He admits the blow. He admits the cost. He feels the cold draft of disgrace. But there's something else in those pages, like a small flame under the words: a decision. He will return to the front. He will earn his way back through service, rifle smoke, and mud. Imagine that for your life. The project failed. The team left. Your name has a bruise on it. The easy road is a story we tell ourselves: that we were wrong to try, that we were never made for this, that the pain is proof we should stop. But Churchill's private letters do something different. They hold the wound still, and then they move. Not through spin, through action. He asks nothing from reputation. He seeks the line where he can be of use and takes it. On the Western Front, he led a battalion. He learned again what a cold morning feels like before men go out to die. He rebuilt himself by doing tasks smaller than his ego and heavier than his pride. What do you call that? It looks like humility. It sounds like resolve. It reads like a rule. When your name is damaged, stop burning time polishing the name. Start doing work that builds a new one. He would later compress this grit into something almost comical. So simple it sounds like a joke until you watch what it does to a week. KBO, he'd say. Keep buggering on. There's a reason soldiers loved it. There's no poetry to hide in. KBO is not about the perfect plan. It's about tomorrow. It's about putting your hands on the levers available to you and pulling until a thing moves. It's a furnace room phrase. It is a letter written to a private fear. I hear you. I'm working anyway. But he didn't just write letters. He spoke into the shape of public fear and bent it. May 1940. He becomes prime minister. The news is bad. The sky is worse. And he chooses this: no false comfort. No sugary lie. This is not a moment for sedation. This is a moment for strength. So he stands in the House of Commons and says, I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. He throws water on the fever of false hope, and in doing so, brings the temperature down to something solid. That line was not just rugged theater. It was a contract. It told a battered people what the price would be, and in telling it, gave them back a choice. We have a habit today of assuming good leadership must sound like a soothing bedtime story. But this is a man who learned the opposite. The truth, clean and cold, is not cruelty. It is the floor of the room. It is the place where you can stand without falling. In a crisis, lies are luxuries that bill you later. What does this mean for you? It means you can stop worrying about making people like the medicine. Your job is to make the medicine work. Speak simply. Speak plainly. Name the storm, then name the work. There's a broadcast he makes in 1941 that carries the second rule he lived by. Britain is bleeding. The United States is not yet in the war. Diplomacy matters, but so does clarity. And into the microphone he says, give us the tools and we will finish the job. 7 words with a spine. He doesn't beg. He doesn't flatter. He doesn't drown the ask in flowers. He states the need. He offers the outcome. It's not just a clever line. It's a masterclass in asking. We think asking for help is weakness. That's because we confuse wandering with asking. Wandering wastes. Asking focuses. Churchill's ask had 3 properties you can steal right now. It was specific. It was linked to an outcome. And it put skin in the game. Give us the tools, not the sympathy, and we will finish the job. If you want help, stop asking for attention. Ask for the bolt that holds the wheel on. Ask for the hour you need. Ask for the document. Ask for the one thing that changes tomorrow's work. Put your own labor on the line and invite someone to make it effective. When you combine the two, cold truth and a focused ask, you get a third piece, action under deadline. Watch his wartime notes, red labels, action this day. These weren't slogans for posters. They were marching orders to the British machine. Radar development, fighter production, shipping, logistics. He attacked the slow bleed of drift like it was an enemy battalion. He understood something that every modern professional quietly knows. The ghost that ruins progress is not failure. It's delay. When he stamped action this day, he was building a culture that treated hours like ammunition. Use them, or they spoil. Can you do that? You don't need a war office, you need a table, a pen, and a clock. Define the 3 actions that change this day, not the next 10 years. The strategy deck can come later. The memo can be perfected after lunch. The team brand might evolve in Q3. Right now, what 3 things, if executed before dusk, bend the week? Don't overthink it. Write them. Ring them. Do them. You will discover something Churchill discovered. Speed itself is a kind of courage. It is dignity in motion. Let's go back. Because the past is only useful if it walks back with us. After the Dardanelles, those letters to Clementine weren't just confession, they were conversion. He shifted from defending the story of his competence to reconstructing it through work. That's not just redemption, that's a method. You can use it. When a chapter falls apart, don't narrate, don't litigate. Build 3 new pages with your hands. It's blunt, but it's how reputations are reborn. Then watch him in June 1940. Dunkirk's miracle is still salty in the air. The army is home, but without its toys. Europe is falling like a row of tired men. How do you talk to a people when the map screams defeat? He picks words like stone. We shall fight on the beaches. He doesn't offer timelines. He offers a posture. Not because optimism was cheap, but because resolve was the only currency left that could buy time. He taught a nation to stand inside a sentence. And when you take that into your own day, you realize something simple. You don't need a plan to stand. You stand first, then you plan. This is the part we forget. He wasn't a marble statue while doing this. He was a man who suffered, who lost elections, who misjudged, who came back. And some nights, he turned to the small phrase again. KBO. Keep buggering on. Not for drama, for breakfast tomorrow. Because most fear loses to mornings that start with one honest job. There's another moment many miss. November 1942, North Africa, the first clean turn of the war. He steps up and gives a line that is less famous than it should be. This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning. That sentence feels like standing in a hallway with doors on both sides. It tells you the scale. It rescues you from 2 mistakes, despair and premature relief. And that's a leadership rule we could staple to the top of every project. Your first real sign of progress is not the finish. It's the honor of more work. Don't celebrate so hard that you let the enemy regroup inside your calendar. What he meant then still matters now. Because our wars wear different uniforms, but the clock is the same. Your crisis may be a failing quarter, a sick parent, a team that's lost its engine, a private depression that doesn't respect your calendar. The mechanism that moves you from panic to power is the same mechanism he used. Truth, ask, action. It starts with the truth. What is incontrovertible in your situation? Name it. Not the story you fear, the facts you face. When you print the truth on the page, panic loses its ambiguity advantage. Then make one clear ask that changes the week. Make it of yourself. 3 actions before dusk. Make it of another. 1 tool you need. 1 hour. 1 decision. Finally, build speed into the day. Action this day is not about reckless sprinting. It's about attacking drift like an enemy. Yes, include rest. Yes, pace yourself. But the day that begins with decisive action discovers the kind of hope that doesn't need a motivational poster. It has evidence. It can point to something done. What about doubt? He had it. In the darkest weeks, even the roar had edges. That's why letters matter. They are quiet evidence. They are the workshop notes of a public life. He wrote to Clementine. He drew strength from conversation, from argument, from being challenged by someone who loved him enough to tell him hard things. Find your Clementine. Invite truth into the room. Then get back to work. If you lead, you will be misunderstood. If you act, you will offend the lazy. If you ask, you will be called needy by people who never build. Churchill learned to outlast those voices by serving something larger than applause. Nations are too heavy to lift with compliments. So are families. So are companies. Serve the outcome, and your critics will need to get stronger to keep up. There's a temptation to treat all of this like a personality cult. Don't. He made mistakes. He had blind spots. He was human. That's the point. If a flawed man can assemble a method from failure, clarity, and action, and use it to carry millions, then a flawed person like you can use the same method to carry a team of 7, a classroom of 30, or even just yourself through Wednesday. Here is how you do it when the day starts bleak. When you feel that old ache that says, lie down, wait, delay, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. Write the truth in 1 line. Call it what it is, a bill you cannot pay, a product that won't ship, a mind that races at midnight. Then write the ask. What would change if you had this one thing? The missing designer? The blunt decision? The hour alone to think? Ask for it clearly. Finally, stamp the day. 3 actions. Not perfect, not pretty, but real, and then do them. If that sounds small for a world this large, remember this. Large worlds move because small levers do. Do you see how the letters and the speeches and the notes all braid together? Private courage, public clarity, daily speed. If you cut any strand, the rope weakens. If you keep them together, it holds. You might be thinking, but what if I speak the truth and people hate it? What if I ask and they say no? What if I act and it fails again? That's where the other Churchill shows up, the one with mud on his boots in the trenches after disgrace. He would grin that bulldog grin and say the line that is half joke, half theology. KBO, keep buggering on. It's not resignation. It's faith in the compound interest of effort. Every honest hour is a deposit. Compound enough of them and even a ruined name can buy back credibility. Half the genius of his style was rhythm. Short sentences when fear is loud. Long sentences when you must paint a horizon. Try it. When your team is anxious, go short, go stone, go true. We are not ready. We need this tool. We will deliver by Friday. Then, when the room can breathe again, go longer. Remind them what the work means, where it leads, who it serves. The alternation itself is leadership. You are conducting a human orchestra through a storm. You don't have to win a war to need this. The world has its own shellfire. Phones that won't stop, inboxes that breed at night, metrics that blink red, relationships that fray. That small rule, truth, ask, action, cuts through the noise. It doesn't fix everything. It makes movement possible. Momentum is not a miracle. It's a discipline. Midway through the war, when victory was still a rumor, he was asked how he endured. He shrugged past romance. He spoke of work and food and sleep and schedules and the small weapon of laughter. He fed his body. He fed his mind. He fed his spirit with duty. You don't need cigars or brandy to copy that. You need a calendar that protects your fight and a friend who speaks to your blind side. We circle back to the microphone just one more time. Give us the tools and we will finish the job. Say that to your own life. Don't ask for the soft pillow of easy circumstances. Ask for the hard tools that make you stronger. Ask your boss for the decision that frees the team. Ask the client for the spec you need. Ask your partner for the hour that repairs the house. Then put your name on the work. Finish the job. This is where some of you will say, it's different now. The world is louder. The stakes feel smaller. The drama is missing. But that's an illusion. There is nothing small about the life you are making. Your life is the ground where someone else will stand. Your courage will become their weather. Churchill's letters reach us not because he was perfect, but because he was painfully ordinary in private. He doubted. He hurt. He was stubborn. He was wrong. He tried again. That is not the story of a statue. That is the story of a person. So what do we carry away from the war rooms and the writing desk? We carry a way to walk on a bad day, a way to lead when you can't see the shore. We carry 3 rules that survived bombardment. Tell the truth even when it chills the room. Ask for the tool that changes the week. Act today before the sun drops. Repeat until the door opens. And if anyone tries to sell you a softer life, smile politely and choose the harder one that builds strength. Because soft lives don't hold under storm. But a life trained on truth, ask, action, can. This is where the last line belongs. He gave it to us when the first victories arrived and he needed to cool the fever of relief. This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Let it steady you. You don't need to finish tonight. You need to win the shape of the day. You need to be the kind of person who, when tomorrow comes with its noise and its needs, already owns 3 actions that fit your hands. Now, one more door. It's late again. The lamp makes a small pool of light. The pen scratches. He signs, folds, seals. The room returns to quiet. And outside, the dark is still there, but so is the paper, a little engine carrying courage into the morning. So keep the letter, keep the note, keep the rules. And when the storm rises, don't overcomplicate the fight. KBO. Tell the truth, ask precisely, stamp the day. Then, in the words of the old bulldog, finish the job, because in the end, the truth stands there, and so will you. Before we go on, which Churchill line hits hardest in your life right now, and why? If this helped you build even one strong action for today, tap like and subscribe so this kind of work finds you again. Let's close the circle where we began. The truth is incontrovertible. Put it at the top of your page. Build below it. When failure comes, write to someone you trust. When fatigue comes, borrow his joke and keep moving. When victory peeks over the ridge, nod to it, then get back to work. Because history doesn't belong to giants, it belongs to the stubborn. And the stubborn write letters to the future with what they do today. Now, action this day.